Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob, joined as always by Carver, coming live shortly after the Dortmund-Barcelona match, the sad loss, any hope we had from going to winning 2 in a row in the Bundesliga finally. I mean, it's not a week as a Dortmund fan if you don't get these ups and downs. And I mean, if you have a couple highs in the Bundesliga, I guess we could expect to maybe drop off in the Champions League, where we've been a little more dominant, a little more exciting to watch in the Champions League. But yeah, falling short today in the Champions League. But Carver, how are you feeling, man, as we get started?
I had a mental break. I got to coach my U11 club between the game and now, so that was a nice little mental reset. I'm imagining reality is going to continue to slowly wash over me as we continue to record here. But, given the circumstances of a really depressing game today, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Again, despite the loss, I mean, we did talk Barcelona in the last episode, give it a little preview. And before we've been live in here for a few minutes, but like before we kicked off the pod, if you are joining, if you missed it, when we started right off the bat, Carver asked me if I had any predictions from the last game. I was like, I don't think I gave a straightforward score prediction because my hopes weren't too high. I didn't have a lot of faith going into this game. Our performance against Barcelona last time, they're such a good team, and with our inconsistency, although we have been better in the Champions League, I didn't see us really being able to come out and compete. I was hoping for at least to get a draw, at least to make it a closer game, and I mean that it just got away from us. We are going to talk. I know it's a little weird, coming off the Barcelona game immediately and then jumping into something else. Shout out to Hamza in the chat who said that's the most depressing game I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it wasn't a fun watch, and we are going to get into it, but we are going to backtrack a little bit. I think that this year has been a lot of we're playing in two different leagues, right? And it's been so black and white, Champions League and Bundesliga, and like we said, we have the ups and downs. And most episodes are like this, where we want to talk about something positive, and we're also talking about something really negative too. But we are going to backtrack, looking back at the match against Freiburg. So we'll start there as we haven't done an episode since that match. So we will start with some positive. And I think there is a way to separate these. Obviously we want to do well in the Champions League. Last episode we did, I was pretty excited, honestly, although I was still weary about this Barcelona game. Just knowing how close we are again to making the semifinals, if we can get a result out of this, that already got me really excited again. And big old slap in the face with some humble pie, as Dortmund likes to do to us. But I think there is a shift where we can look and still see the positives that could come from the Bundesliga. I know we did get the news, which we haven't touched on, and we put it on our socials, and I'm sure you've seen that Nico Schlotterbeck is now out the rest of the season, which is a big blow, especially as we try to make a run towards the end of the season and coming off 2 Bundesliga wins. I was feeling a lot more positive. We closed the gap quite a bit to where it seemed like European football is definitely in sight. I think we jumped from 12th to 8th. There are positive signs there. And even getting this win against Freiburg without Schlotterbeck, because he was out with yellow card suspension. And now we get the news of this, is meniscus, and he's out the rest of the season, which is just, it's so brutal.
It's devastating. And we clearly missed him in the Barcelona game here. Sebastian Kehl said in a quick quote that we're looking at half a year for Schlotterbeck. So not even really the beginning of this next season, although he was supposed to have, it looked like a season-ending injury a few months back in the Champions League, and then he came back to start the very next game. So maybe something miraculous happens and he's actually ready to go at the beginning of next season, but we're looking at several months, unfortunately, of our best defender being out here, which is, it's a huge blow. I mean, from so many reasons, not only defensively, but just in terms of how we progress up the field in this Champions League game. You definitely saw how this team was missing Schlotterbeck in that game. But usually it's kind of like the opposite, right? This whole season, we've been really dreading the Bundesliga. We've been dreading games that are against horrendous oppositions, bottom table oppositions, and somehow we would lose against them. But these past week or so, it's actually been kind of the opposite. Surprisingly, we've gotten 2 Bundesliga games in a row, like you mentioned, and then in the Champions League, a big wet fart. I mean, you're seeing right before we started the actual recording of this, I was saying
I didn't know what you were going to say. I wasn't expecting that.
You can see the quality difference between these two teams in this game. And it's not only, and I mentioned it before, but it's not only a collective thing, but an individual one as well. You can go position by position, Dortmund and Barcelona, and you're going to pick Barcelona players the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time. And also just the game plan, it worked for them. They play high pressing, expansive football. The high line that they have almost actually cost them a few times, but just how high it was. But they really played on the front foot. Dortmund looked like a 4-4-2 at times, and we can get them to the lineup if we want. But playing on the counter, which was not too surprising. We did expect Barcelona to be having a lot of possession in this game, and then Dortmund kind of not sitting back, but just waiting for their opportunities and trying to pounce whenever they did win the ball. And we did look threatening at times. Yes, this game was pretty depressing overall. The second half was horrendous, but there were clear-cut chances in the first half that this team actually generated. Girassi had chances directly in front of goal, right at the top of the 6-yard box, and unfortunately his finishing let him down. His timing, too, I think was really off in this game. That was probably the number one thing for him actually not getting the end of these crosses here and chances that we were actually able to create. And at the end of the day, we never capitalized on those chances that we created. It was a really, really harsh scoreline, but at the same time, Barcelona did a really good job of, again, exploiting the wide areas and then finding players in behind, or just for that last pass down in the center, and got some easy goals.
It's hard to say what would have happened if we were to score some of those chances, like looking at the stats at the end of the match, and this is obviously because this is how the match is flowing, but like 3 shots on target, they ended up having 10 shots on target, 4 of those, of course, being goals. And who's to say, like, if we, with the team like Barcelona, I still think if we would have gotten a goal, like they would have just kept doing the same thing, like putting the pressure on like they do, and it would have still been very difficult to win this game. But you never really know. That can also push or spur us on to dig in a little deeper to I don't know, pull out some kind of result, or at least make it closer than what happened now. 4-0. I know we're coming home, but that is such a big deficit. And
yeah,
did we play Barcelona at home earlier in the Champions League when it was?
Yes, we did, and we lost 3-2. This second leg is just going to be a formality at this point. Although I was talking about how Schlotterbeck could affect this team in this game, and then I kind of got ahead of myself, even though we were talking about Freiburg. So we can take a step back and break down that game a little bit more if you wanted.
We can keep rolling on Barcelona. I mean, it kind of makes sense. This game is just happened today. We're just a few hours after that as we're doing the live show. Shout out to Lisu, by the way, in the chat, who active in our Discord, jumping in here. I'm tuning in live. If you have any questions, especially about Barcelona, we're just going to jump into Barcelona. Because like I said, I think we can separate Bundesliga from Champions League, especially at this state. So maybe it makes a little more sense to talk about Barcelona. Then we'll go back, talk Freiburg, sure, and then look ahead at Bayern. Yeah. As we're doing things live and just kind of figuring it out as we go, because it's been a minute since we've done a live show.
We're all over the place. That's fine. It's a live show. Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, for those of you in the chat too, if you want to give your thoughts about this game, specifically the Barcelona game, your thoughts, like I already shouted out Hamza, who said it's the most depressing game I've seen in my life. Yeah, it wasn't fun. I did mention, like, I had coworkers who kept stopping by my desk. Had it on at the office today, and while watching on delay, they were checking the score, and I said, by the way, it's probably worse than it is now because I'm 20 minutes behind, and in a lot of those cases, it was worse. But yeah, this is just a tough one. And as you said, I don't even know how we pulled away at home. Like, it's such a big deficit. I don't know. But shout out to Lisu also, who said Schlotty is the foundation of the team. He, from a personality perspective too, like how much heart and passion he plays with, like it's definitely a miss. Like we said, we did perform well in Freiburg. We're going to get into that match. Like we were able to get through that game without him. But in a game like this, like that's really who we need, especially with, I would say, some of the inconsistency with Anton. I think he's been playing a little bit better. But yeah, it's just difficult. And the lineup, I was going to get a lineup. So for this Barcelona match, as you said, sometimes 4 at the back, it looked kind of reverted prior to the formation we have been playing with 3 at the back the last few Bundesliga matches. But Kobel in goal. Obviously, we had Pinzabaini at left back. Anton and Chan are 2 center backs. I did see, I think it was in our Discord, someone said, do we trust Anton and Sula as our center backs? And I think we just forget. I think you just constantly forget that Chan has solidified himself as one of our center backs. Like, he's still not top of mind, even though he has been performing pretty solid. But Chan and Anton get to start. Rierson, right back. Chukwuemeka and Mecha, 2 holding mid, which maybe this match isn't a great example, but I like the thought of this. I like Chukwuemeka getting a start, as we saw in the Bundesliga match on the weekend. Do you have any thoughts
Although
on?
he was pressing a lot higher. It looked like he was almost like the forming a front two with Girassi, and it was like almost a flat four with
Yeah.
Brandt and Mecha as that pivot at times. But yeah, Chukwuemeka was kind of going behind and in front of that midfield line.
Then Adeyemi, Brandt, and Gittens got the start with Girassi up top. Just noting too, we did see the halftime swap with Bayer coming on for
Yeah.
Adeyemi.
Yeah, when you look at this lineup kind of one by one, you start to kind of understand why Barcelona was really able to pick us apart at times. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, Chan has become a force in this back line. He is pretty much a lock out of the other, outside of Schlotterbeck between Anton and Sula. You're looking at Chan here, but it's still a midfielder in the back line as a center back. And then Anton, he's been up and down at best, pretty inconsistent. He's showing some promise as of late, but still there's some question marks there. And whenever you have those two next to each other, it's just not a huge shock, I guess. And especially too, Benzemaini didn't have a great game. That and Rierson didn't either. But it's not too shocking to see that Barcelona was able to really carve up here and expose us again in those wide areas, and then just go to town with the crossing. And then Yamal was having a hell of a game too, and Rafinha, he's incredible talent out on the wing. And then with Lewandowski being the focal point of attack, he just loves scoring against us, unfortunately. And it was really unfortunate. And then I was surprised to see JG start as well. And not only start, but him and Adeyemi were on their inverted sides. So they're usually on the inverted sides, but now they're actually playing to their strong foots. So Gittens was on the right, Adeyemi was on the left. And I don't think really either of them were able to get into this game much. And then with Brandt and Mecha hasn't been playing for quite some time now. So I'm honestly surprised to see he got the start here. He didn't go full 90, but he did play almost 70 minutes of football. It's going to take a lot of time for him to build not only fitness, but form back up. So it's tough for him. Brandt, not a great game. And Chukwuemeka had some moments for sure. He was able to, keep the ball here a lot better than when Reina came on, which I'm usually praising Reina for. Chukwuemeka did, find some good passes here and found some space as well. And then as for Girassi, I mentioned before, his timing really let him down tonight. And even you saw bits of the attitude problems too, right? He got the yellow card later in the game, but he was just really behind on some of these plays. And he had that ball that was sent in, was it from Adeyemi, and completely unmarked, and had a shot right in front, or had an opportunity to shoot right in front of goal at the top of the 6-yard box, but completely missed it. And again, I got to chalk that up to timing, but yeah, just not Girassi's night, unfortunately.
I want to look at the midfield real quick too, because I didn't even notice this until honestly right now I'm looking at the bench. I wasn't able to with me being at work today, I wasn't able to look at any information ahead of the game, like starting 11, see any news. I say it all the time. I often miss things, and I apologize as a podcast host when I miss news and updates. But where was Gross? Was he out illness, injury? Do you know a reason he was out? Because he wasn't even on the bench. Because I guess my thought is, I was surprised to see Mecha get the start too. I'm not, just because how long he's been out. I think I want him in the midfield. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's quite ready to start. And my other, I was looking down the bench because I was like, oh, where's Gross? Why didn't maybe Gross didn't get the start because they wanted maybe someone quicker in there to try to keep up with the Barcelona players. But then I see Gross isn't even on the bench. Did you see anything with him?
I actually did not, and that's on me as well. I just haven't been keeping up with those reports as much as I should be. But yeah, I was a bit surprised with that as well. Someone said in the chat it might have been suspension, which makes sense. I think that with against Sporting too. Mecha, I can understand it if he is fit for at least the beginning of the game. He was able to cover some space here, but again, yeah, it's just going to take time for him to build himself up. So fitness and form. AG, I know whenever we had the reverse fixture back at home in the league format of the competition, he only had, I think it was 0 out of 2 dribbles against Koundé. So I think maybe Kovac was looking back at that game and maybe just wanting to switch so Adeyemi could have a go on that left-hand side, but still kind of had the same rate of success there, unfortunately. Barcelona started this game really well. There was a handful of shots on target that they had really early on. I think it was 2 in that first 10 minutes. So it was going to be a long night for Kobel. And of course, he ended up conceding 4. But yeah, he was forced into saves really, really early on. And that's whenever I started feeling really nervy as well. We did kind of grow into that first half well. But yeah, early on, it was pretty rough. And it was tough for us to gain any sort of momentum too whenever, one, there was the blatant foul on Chukwuemeka. in the 17th minute that the ref
Oh, that
didn't
was
give even a yellow. It
crazy.
wasn't a foul for, and it was
Didn't even
also a
call a
yellow card
foul.
too.
It should have been a yellow card for stopping the counter, like just
Mhm.
a blatant foul and open play. And then he didn't even give a foul though. He waved
No.
him on to like keep playing. It's insane.
And then a few minutes after that, of course, the ref himself also intercepted a pass somehow and then completely killed the counter attack. Now we were in our own half, sure, but those are two moments where Barcelona, again, with their very, very high line, there was plenty of space in behind for us to exploit. And with the pace of our wingers, there's opportunities there. And of course, whenever we're set up to play that way anyway, I'm expecting us to actually build some momentum off of those counters. And that whenever you have the life of the game sucked out of it constantly from moments like that,
Yeah.
it's just, you're already in a hole and it's just that much more difficult to dig yourself out of.
I've got a hot take question. Do you think, well, Adeyemi only played the half, and then Gittens getting the start, which we haven't seen in quite some time. It feels like Kovac doesn't really rate him or trust him in maybe the way he wants to play. I'm not saying he doesn't, maybe not rating him is incorrect word, but we just haven't seen him get as many minutes, as many starts. Obviously, we haven't seen him get as many goals as he was getting in the early part of the season, so it could just be a form thing. Do you think Gittens gets the start here purely because of pace so that we can try to counter them and get past their high line, or do you think it's a little bit of rotation coming up for the Bayern game?
It might be both too. And, at the end of the day, this is a competition that I think most of us were kind of expecting us to not really progress much further in, let alone go on the amazing run that we did last year. And I don't want to trying to sound too much of like a Debbie Downer there, but I think that's a little bit more realistic too. So maybe it was a rotation thing. Yeah. Of course, too, I mean, he's not expecting Balde to start, but he's also a player that plays a little bit higher up. Maybe JG can exploit him a bit more in those 1v1 situations. But either way, you didn't really see him get too much there. Even in this game, you look at passes into the final third, he only had one. I mean, just this whole game, JG only had 28 touches, which is crazy. He wasn't dispossessed at all, but he also, again, he wasn't able to really get himself in those moments that you're expecting him to contribute to the team a bit more. Like whenever he had the first half of the season, he's getting doubled up on against Gladbach and he's still finding ways to get a cross in or a shot off. And you're just seeing, I think it's a matter of like a form, but it's also his frustration. I think he's pretty much set on his future. Reports are saying he's looking to leave. So maybe just the heart isn't in it anymore either. And Kovac kind of understands that too. So I think it's like multifactorial, but it's got to be a mental thing for him as of late to not contribute to the team.
It is tough too on the quick, because there has been reports that he's ready to leave this summer. Because was it last summer did he sign an extension to 2028? And which you can look at that a few different ways. Like it's almost the club putting in the work to make sure we kind of securing a payday, right? Like locking him down for a long-term contract. Not that I think any of us really expected him to stay to 2028, but there were a lot more reports of him being happy, especially early part of the year when he's got that, he is the number one winger, starting scoring, which of course, like things are going to change depending on how you're performing and the attitude. And I know there's been the coaching change and all that. So there's a lot of different factors at play. I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to judge him at all for maybe wanting a change now. It is just a little upsetting when we saw him such this high caliber and a player who seemed like he really wanted to stay. Even at that rate, him scoring all those goals in the beginning part of the season, I was like, oh, he's definitely out. Like someone is going to come in for him without a doubt. And I was hoping maybe we could possibly get another year out of him. But it is, I don't know. Maybe because his form's dipping too. Maybe more Dortmund fans don't mind seeing him go as much, especially if we're getting a big payday out of it. But yeah, I don't know. It is sad to see the turn.
In the Bochum game too, you saw him like start to get a little bit of like a verbal altercation with some of the supporters too. So I feel like there's maybe some sour taste between the fan base and him. But also, I feel like Kovac could have also started him because maybe it was like a spark that he had in mind because he did score against Freiburg. It was off a header. He's never scored a header before. So maybe that was like an idea of, maybe he's going to burst back into form and have a bit more life in him. Because before that Freiburg goal, the last time he scored was all the way back in January against Holstein Kiel. That was January 14th. 4 months without, and it's not just goals either. I'm looking back. I don't even see any assists. So 4 months without a single goal contribution. And you look back before that, just in the league alone, from August to December, he had 11 goal contributions just in the Bundesliga. So to go from, 4 months, you get 11 goal contributions just in the domestic competition alone, to absolutely nothing across all comps for 4 months. I mean, there's clearly a dip in form there, but at the same time, the kid's only 20. And this
Yeah.
happens to pretty much every kid at this age, or every player at this sort of age. They're going to be going into dips and forms at this while they're in the development phase. But yeah, just he's probably going to be finding more of that at a different club. I'm hoping that doesn't affect the price tag too much, because that needs to heavily be invested elsewhere. But yeah,
Yeah.
either way, it's a shame he wasn't able to really get going against Barcelona, because he can be electric, and he's obviously going to be very beneficial and helpful to the team whenever he's in form.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the pressure got to him, and that's where you see the dip in form. But as you mentioned, like, he is so young, and you tend to see these young players, except maybe Lamine Yamal, who's just going to be flying for the rest of his life, or the next 8 years at least. I don't know, maybe longer than that because he's not that old. But you see these dips, and it's not even. I guess it is a little inconsistency, maybe dips in forms, but you can also almost expect it because they are so young, right? Like, it's still going to take them time to get their a solid footing underneath them, like. And maybe where I'm saying, did the pressure get to him, is like, we were relying on him so much, match after match after match. He was winning us games. He was the reason we were scrapping any kind of points or wins. He was doing so much, like everything. Yeah, Girassi was scoring a bit too, but he was the player more often than not that was lifting us up or creating a moment of magic.
From
And I'm
day
not
one,
saying
too.
from
I
day
mean,
one.
against Frankfurt,
I'm not saying that got to him and the pressure was too much and that's why his form started to dip. But like, it's just an added thing to where if the coach and all his teammates and everyone else is just relying on him, like, you just can't expect him to have that season outright. Like, let alone, no matter what, like, just the young kind of player he is, because he needs to be in and out of the team. He needs to be, you know what I mean? He just needs to develop more. Like, that's not the kind of player he is at this age, like, for a full entire season. So yeah, it's just tough we were getting so much, and we as a club needed that to continue, or we needed other people to step up, and that didn't really happen.
I'm curious what this game, or how this game would have developed with Gittens had Girassi actually converted one or two of these chances early on, because then Barcelona are obviously, they can't commit as many number forward. I mean, maybe they do keep continuing to put their line up as high as they did, but I feel like if we were to get one, maybe even two in that first half because of those clear-cut chances, they're a bit more on their back heels. They're a bit more uncertain with how they want to defend, and then I think that's whenever JG can really shine and start to go ISO against those players. But just given the unlucky circumstances that Girassi was unable to put those away, they were a bit more clear-headed and able to stay compact and not and just continue to shut those two down. And it didn't help either that they really came out much stronger in the second half too, right? I mean, like, coming out into the second half, only one team came out of that locker room, and it was not Borussia Dortmund, unfortunately.
I mean, at half, it was only one goal at half, right?
Right.
Like, we had time to make some tactical adjustments, which you see with Adeyemi getting subbed out, which is maybe a tactical adjustment. I was going to ask you this because I don't hate a discussion about JG because it's been a while since we've been able to do that anyways. But flipping it to the other side, Adeyemi gets pulled at half, where I would say we're only 1-0 down. We're like, if we're 3-0, like down 3-0 at half, and you do want to rest him for the Bayern match this weekend, that makes total sense. And I'm not saying he got yanked to get rested. I think it was because he had a yellow card.
Yeah.
Which also
and
tells me,
Adeyemi's
like,
a liability to begin with, right? It's not uncommon for him to get himself
no,
sent off.
He could very easily get a second yellow in the second half, and things could. It's hard to say they would have got worse than this, but I mean, they very easily could have. So I guess I see that for the yellow card reason, but also knowing that we're just 1-0 down, it's like, I want Adeyemi on the field to give us a chance, because I know he can make something happen too. He could blow past their entire line and score a goal.
I personally understood the switch. I mean, I've said it before, but like, Adeyemi draws a lot of fouls, right? And he gets us into those positions where we can actually be dangerous on set pieces, which sometimes Dortmund has actually been more dangerous in set pieces this season than in open play. But Adeyemi also concedes a lot of fouls too. I mean, I think he draws almost just as much as he does conceding for fouls. I mean, he loves sprinting right into the back of people, and I feel like that was very likely for him to actually happen, especially as temperatures rose in the second half, especially as players became more frustrated. Adeyemi is very prone to stupid mistakes like that. So, I mean, I'm glad Bayer was able to come on, because also Bayer's in great form, right? 2 assists against Freiburg, 2 goals against Mainz the week before, and then even only 2 weeks before that against Lille, he scored as well. So That's 5 goal, including this Barcelona game. That's 5 goal contributions in 5 games, despite him not scoring this Barcelona game. Even though he did score, it was called offside. But that's not on him. And pretty solid performance from him, given the bar for everyone else here.
I want to give a quick shout out to Alex, who's also a member of our Discord, but I guess kind of tuning in for the live or not. He said won't be able to be here live tonight. He's still got a comment in, which I appreciate. But can you please give a reason to have hope for this Saturday? I'm begging, which I'm just putting that in there now that we will get into that. I think after we started talking Barcelona, coming off that match just a couple hours ago, we are going to talk Freiburg, and then from there we'll move on to Bayern. And I think, once we talk Freiburg, I'll have some positives to pull from there. I know it's hard coming out of this Barcelona match. Before we move into that, though, talked a lot about JG, Adiemi a little bit. Anything else you wanted to hit? Back on the midfield too a little bit. It could have been interesting if Gross was available, because I mentioned Mecha. I don't think he was quite ready to start, and I think starting after an injury with that game being Barcelona it's a difficult place to jump in. I don't know who else you would have put in there. I don't know if you want Hotchan starting. I don't know what the other option was, is what I'm saying. But that's such a tough match for Mecha to come in and start for his first time back.
Yeah, I guess maybe an argument could be made for Svensson because he's played a little bit more center at times, but I'm not sure. This team desperately needs a number 10, though. It sucks because we thought Brandt was that man, but Brandt continues to unimpress. He did have some better passes here. I counted on my hand. There was some solid passes into space that he made, but also met with a handful of mistakes and slow play as well, and some confusing play. But you look at Reyna, who comes on. He hasn't played more than 8 minutes in over a calendar month.
That's
so
crazy.
This is a good opportunity for him. He comes on in the 67th minute, so it's actually a pretty solid chunk of time for him to get himself involved. And he looks like he could not give any less of a shit, really. I don't know if it was the first pass he made, but whenever we were actually getting into the opposite or Barcelona's box, and he had the outside flick that had no weight, no purpose whatsoever, and really, really disappointing performance from Reyna. And I would expect him to actually be a bit more involved in a game like this. In the chat here, someone said Vachin. Yeah, I haven't seen him at all this game.
He was on the bench,
but this season, excuse me. Yeah, we have not seen him play much at all for this entire season, even though the club was hoping to integrate more youth into the system in the club. But yeah, really disappointing from the 10s overall, though, from Brandt and Reyna. This game, again, just really, really sucked. Thankfully, it was not hurting our Bundesliga campaign, which we are right back in it somehow. Teams continue to drop points around us, but it's amazing, really.
I do want to talk Vetchin a little bit because, we probably had this conversation this same time last year when we saw his first, I guess this is a little later in the year, but we saw his first debut for the first team. And oh my gosh, it was so promising, right? We saw such good things from him. And at that time, I think he played a little deeper in a double pivot 6. And that's the kind of player I assumed and thought he was. I do follow, on FOTMob, I also follow BVB2, the under 23s essentially. And I can't always, those games aren't always available to stream. You can't always watch them, but I always check the lineup and see kind of who's playing, especially was it earlier this year when we had a ton of injuries and we were seeing a lot of those guys anyways. But it is interesting to see Vetchin's versatility. And I think maybe part of it is because he is a high caliber player playing in this 3 Bundesliga. And with a player like that who's really talented, you can put him around the pitch kind of where you need him. So he could play deeper. He has been playing in the 10. I've seen him on the wings a couple times too, playing in a wider role, which was really surprising to me just because I think the profile he is, he just appears more of a central midfielder, especially a deeper lying central midfielder to me. But it could be interesting. And it didn't happen this year, but maybe next year is that he's still so young too. And that's why I just hope we would have seen some, a little more of him this year. I was hoping we'd see him get into every other match, make the bench most weekends and get, especially when we're down so many players early in the season. We thought we were begging for him. Maybe it's, and he just
scored a terrific solo goal too. I don't, if anyone wants to look that up on your own time, this was just the other day against, I think it was Ingolstadt for the second team. Vachin scored a fantastic solo goal. So he's capable of being that box-to-box. I don't have a ton of research on him. I've not seen him personally play um, over the course of an entire game a lot. But the moments that I have seen of him, again, yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, he can play a bit more deeper. He can play as that 8, and he can also clearly get up and contribute for the goals too. So yeah, we should be seeing him more whenever, again, Brandt somehow continues to start for this team, and Reyna has been very disappointing as well for the very limited minutes he's been getting.
A couple more comments in here, which I missed. Apologies. Because we did, so this is a comment from Hamza again with, we did better with a 3-5-2 formation. Might as well give that a try for the next leg. I mean, I agree. I think we have been playing the last 2 Bundesliga matches in that formation. I think the tricky thing here is not having Schlotterbeck as part of that. Like in the last match, the Freiburg match, we did have Benzabaini in that left center back role. And so you could argue it could be Chan, Schlotterbeck. Like, I mean, literally the same 3 we saw against Freiburg, because Svensson didn't get a shot in this game because he could play that left wing back position. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of interesting to change it up, especially when that feels maybe a little more secure. So yeah, not sure exactly why we didn't see that. Again, maybe it's so that you can get Adeyemi and Gittens. Again, if you want that pace on the wings, that allows you to get both of them on the position playing this slightly different formation.
JG's not going to do that defensive work, though, and he would get cooked by Rafinha and Yamal.
I'm not saying him at wingback. Like, I would still want. Sorry, never mind. You said Svensson. I don't know why. I thought I heard you say Gittens.
I did. I said Gittens and Eddie. Yeah.
Okay. Vetchen equals Royce. Vetchen is a monster. And another question: have you all seen Metch's YouTube series? I did not know this was a thing.
Not,
just on his personal
channel. I can't say I have
much
interest in it on a personal level.
On a personal level, I don't think Carver wants to watch that.
Freiburg? You want to get into Freiburg?
Let's get into Freiburg. And we were just hitting on it. We were just hitting on the formation, which was, I mean, one of my big notes and big takeaways, which is similar lineup that we saw against Mainz in that previous match. Mm-hmm. Benzabaini, our left-sided center back, Chan in the middle, Anton, right-sided center back, Kobel in goal. Obviously, we had Svensson and Rierson, our wing-backs, with Chukwuemeka getting his first Bundesliga start, first Dortmund start, and Gross, Brandt at that number 10 position, Adeyemi and Bayer getting the start up top. Siru, Garasi not quite ready, or maybe Kovac just really liked what he saw in the previous match. So is this basically the same? It's not the exact same lineup, but it's pretty similar with Chukwuemeka jumping in and getting his first start with a very impressive showing.
Yeah, first start and first goal for Chukwuemeka. I don't know how, I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I don't know how we continue to somehow get the job done against Freiburg, because they are a really well-drilled, solid team. They're above us in the table still, even after that win. But somehow, whenever we're playing them at home, we really take them to the cleaners, and then we somehow pull the results out of our ass whenever we're playing away against Freiburg. Not complaining. It's just a funny thing that a lot of people are seeming to notice in recent times. I don't know if this is a more of a historic thing. It very well could be. But even dating back a few years now, this is just a team that we continue to really perform well against. Yeah, another massive 3 points to keep the European dreams alive. You mentioned before that we're in 8th now. We've jumped several points in the table. We're now above Stuttgart somehow, despite them doing the double against us. And we play Freiburg. We played Freiburg now. We have Gladbach here in a few weeks, and we got points against Mainz as well. So, this dream of getting European competition is still very alive. And this game against Freiburg too, it was pretty impressive. We were very effective with how we converted the chances that we actually created. I thought we were a lot more alert looking. We're a lot more persistent around the box, winning second balls. I think I noticed a lot of that too. Freiburg, just like Barcelona, I think they started really well in that second half, but unlike the Champions League game, we matched that. And I think we even did a little bit better. Even though Freiburg raised their game a bit, we came out and actually asserted our dominance even more and scored against the run of play and still got a good result here. Yeah.
Before we talk goals and maybe a little more tactics and how this game played out exactly, penalty shot around the 16th minute, back-to-back Benzabaini, possible handball, Svensson, possible foul, if I'm getting those in the right order. What are your thoughts? Recollection from this?
God, I probably do if I were to see it. I'm blanking on it at the moment, though, for some reason.
I think the ball bounces up and hits Benzabaini. His arm is behind him, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't have the replay in front of my face, but his arm is kind of behind him, but it is out. I would say it is kind of, it's so hard when you say what's a natural position or not, because when you're running, when you're in flow, when you're swinging around, your arms are going to flail all over the place, because that is natural. What's not natural is actually tucking them against your body. I understand that's what you have to do for the rules, but
Mm-hmm.
it's actually not natural. But I think that like the ball bounced behind him up, like from behind him up and hits his arm. They obviously didn't give the penalty, but it would not have surprised me if they would have given the penalty. And then I think that immediately following that, this was in the exact same sequence. Like it wasn't cleared out or anything. Like the ball like bounced 5 feet away, and then Svensson. There's kind of calls for like a foul from Svensson in the box. I thought that one wasn't as clear cut. That one wasn't as bad to me, but like it wouldn't have surprised me if they would have given the handball. I mean, thank God they didn't. But because that would, again, 16th minute, we hadn't scored yet. That completely changes the game.
You know what? I think the reason I probably don't remember it is this is the first time in a while where I actually overslept for the start of the game, and I tuned in at like the 15th, even 20th minute. I know, I slept right through my alarm. And I even had to miss the last few minutes of the second half too, because I had to go to a different game that I was coaching. But yeah, I don't remember seeing those, but I do want to mention too, like, it's funny how, again, in the Champions League, Dortmund somehow continue to like raise their level and play to the level of their opposition, and they can beat really anyone when they're on their night. And then in the Bundesliga, we really fall flat and kind of do the same thing, match our opposition. But you look at this game against Freiburg. Like I said, we matched their intensity in the second half. We even probably did better. Kovac mentioned on Sky after the game, and he was talking about like how we have to focus on Barcelona now, but this team is willing to make the effort for each other. Only together we can be successful. We've seen today that everyone's willing to go the extra mile. And then you look at the stats here. Dortmund ran collectively together 122 kilometers, which is about 75, 76 miles, which is 3 more kilometers than Freiburg, who are one of the strongest teams in the Bundesliga for distance covered. So, the distance covered, the effort there collectively, you saw the team actually fight for each other. And then in the second half of this Barcelona game, it was the complete opposite of that, where the team looked completely fed up. I'm wondering if that's just, they know that this competition is not something that they're going to really progress in, and they need to focus on the Bundesliga. That's, not fine. They should be trying every single game as paid footballers, professional footballers. But either way, I just found that kind of ironic given the mentality difference between the two competitions this season.
Well, I don't want to talk about Barcelona because we already talked about that. So I want to stick to the positive things. And this is where I want to say again to Alex, like this is where things get positive for me, because we were able to see this turnaround. I know it's 2 games and I'm definitely getting ahead of myself, but it's 2 games coming off the international break where Kovac had a lot more time to work on things, switched up against the formation.
Oppositions that were above us in the table. Yeah, we're away for one of them.
And we looked so positive. Yes, we already talked about Schlotterbeck, and that is a huge miss, but we were able to win this game and perform well without him in this one too. Lisu also gave a shout for Schlotterbeck as the only man to take corners and free kicks at this point. Unfortunately, we are not going to see that the rest of the season. As we mentioned, he is out, but we were still able to get the result away too. Like, how long did it take us to get an away result? Or an away win, I guess. We had a draw early on with Werder Bremen, a 0-0, really exciting 0-0
it was only our 4th away win of the whole season. We lost 8 out of our 14 away games.
It took us so long to get that first one. It took Kovac coming in to get the first away win. Like, Şahin wasn't able to do that. The best result was the 0-0 draw away at Werder Bremen.
That's not true. We won against Heidenheim under Tolberg. I think that was the first away win.
It took Tolberg. Şahin didn't do it. It took Tolberg to do it. And it did take Kovac a few games to finally get it. And this is where I'm taking
I got to fact check this one more time.
Oh, my God.
I'm so fucking sorry. I got to fact check this one more time. I forgot about us winning in Wolfsburg in December. That was right before Şahin got the can. Did
Şahin win that one? He won and then get fired after that?
No, it wasn't directly after that.
Oh, my
God. That was just right before the winter break. We won away.
Guys, as we are live,
I'm looking back. I'm pretty sure that was our first away win of the whole season.
This is your chance to really let us have it. Let me especially have it. I don't know. I don't know stats. I don't know facts. I'm just here for the vibes.
Yeah.
And
said I missed Tolberg in the chat. I completely agree with that. I missed Tolberg too.
Back to the positivity.
Yeah.
We turned it around, changed formation. We got these 2 really good wins. And before this match, I believe we were in 12th, right? And one of my friends was asking me like how Dortmund's doing, and I was like, ironically, like I haven't been used to Dortmund having my positive result of the weekend, because our club, St. Louis, did not have a great result. And I enjoy watching Liverpool and what they're doing in the Premier League right now. They had a bad result, and I was like, surprisingly, Dortmund had my positive result of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, like looking at these last two matches and how we've been able to perform, that gives me a lot of positive hope. And in contrast to the Champions League, like I didn't have a lot of hope going up against Barcelona. Like
Mm-hmm.
such a tough team, and I didn't really rate us, as bad as it is to say. Unless we had Terzic back in here, I didn't really rate us getting out of this next stage. Like I wanted the
I didn't
hope, but
either.
like I didn't see us getting past Barcelona, and I can see us continuing this run in the Bundesliga, though. I know we have Bayern. I know that's could be a tough game. They're also missing a ton of guys too. Like we
Mm.
have a chance to get a result against them too, and then just keep going. We beat Mainz, who's sitting in the number 4 position. We were in 12th before this. Now we're up to 8th, and it's so tight. Where last episode I was like, we're not making Europe, not a chance, because I
Mm.
didn't see us getting back to back wins or winning on the road in the Bundesliga, because it's not something we've been able to put together at all. But now I don't know. Now I think we can do it. I'm on board now.
And again, it helps that almost every team above us, at least within distance, has been dropping points. I mean, Stuttgart they won their last game against Bochum, but that was only their first Bundesliga win out of their last 7 Bundesliga games. So they've been dropping points left and right. Leipzig, of course, for those who haven't heard, they sacked Rosa last week. They've been up and down in the league, but also they lost to Stuttgart in the Pokal. So they've been all over the place in terms of form. They've been dropping points. Again, Gladbach has actually been picking up some form. I think they haven't lost in like their last 3 Bundesliga games. And yeah, I'm looking at that now. And then they lost against Mainz before that, but they have been picking up some form. This would be a great opportunity. We play them not this week because of Bayern, but the next week. If we can get 3 points against them, then we're right up tied with them. They're at 44 points and we're at 41 right now. So that's a spot that we can really not only attain, but hold for this last month or so. And then we're back in a European spot. I know a lot of people, myself included, was making the joke of like best case scenario is Euro Conference League at the end of the season. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
now there's like an actual real chance at Champions League. Somehow, with us having 11 wins, barely over 500 this season, there's actually still a sniff. We still have 5 points to go to catch Mainz, but I mean, the opportunity is right there with the oppositions, again, dropping points and the ones in front of us ahead in the schedule.
So, and looking ahead of the schedule, I know you hit a couple of these, but I just want to get your quick, I guess, points. Like, how many points can we get out of these? I don't want to calculate all the points. I just want to know if win, draw, loss, and what your expectations are. So, away Bayern this weekend.
I'm hoping, again, I mentioned this last year. We won for the first time in Munich in like a decade. So I'm hoping psychologically that does a lot for the guys and we don't go in there pissing our pants at the start of the first whistle. I'm hoping we can get at least a draw because, like you mentioned, they are missing some players. They did just lose against Inter in the Champions League. You know, maybe that pisses them off and they can get a response. I don't know. But either way, it's been done and we can actually get another result in Munich this year. I think it's something that's certainly possible. So I'm going to go draw, hopefully. But even though if we do lose, we still have Gladbach again. That's going to be at home. That should be a lock. Hoffenheim after that. That's got to be a must win. We're home against Wolfsburg after that, who fell into 12th. They're still only 3 points below us, so it gets pretty tight in the Bundesliga when it comes to these positions.
But it's at home, so must win.
Yeah,
From there.
yeah.
So I think we can do it.
So I'm going to stop there for just those next 4 games because we have Leverkusen after that, but that's for a whole nother month. And now we're looking in the middle of May. So I'm just trying to take it a few at a time. And I think those are definitely all points that we could pretty much get against all of them, except for Bayern, if we don't actually come out to play and be right back up there in contention for 6th or 5th place. And if we can get those results and then kind of finish strong after Leverkusen, I mean, we finished the season against Kiel at home too. So that should also be a layup. And maybe that's enough depending on how Gladbach, Leipzig, and Mainz finish their seasons. Frankfurt have been dropping points. Mainz is also going to play Bayern in a few weeks. They also play Frankfurt in a few weeks. And then on the very last day of the season, Mainz play Leverkusen as well. You can keep going. I mean, Leipzig also play Bayern. They also play Frankfurt, and they play Stuttgart. A lot of these oppositions play each other that are above us, right above us in the table for more points for them to drop and us hopefully to pick up here.
And I'm looking at the top of the table, Bayern and Leverkusen, where we're not going to catch it. I know we're not catching them, but it is interesting us playing both of them and just like where Bayern is at right now with their injuries and how close Leverkusen has closed this gap to 6 points. They're only 6 points behind. I mean, it's a big match for Leverkusen for us.
Yeah.
Our match against Bayern is a big match for Leverkusen. And then it just makes it so interesting. Fast forward to when we play Leverkusen. Like, I think that's going to be a make or break game for us. I think getting into that last spot potentially. And then it's a huge game for them, depending on what happens in the next couple of weeks and how close they can actually get to Bayern, or if they can surpass them by that point, because it is so interesting with Bayern dealing with the injuries that they have now. And like, are they going to falter? Are they going to be able to scrape by? It's going to be a really exciting end to this season as a neutral. And I mean, for Dortmund fans, especially. And yeah, like it is, as someone who like, we're definitely not going to finish top of the league. I just want to, can we like scrape? Last week, I didn't even think we were going to make Europe. And now like, can we scrape Champions League somehow?
Yeah. 5th or 4th seems possible. Yeah.
As the neutral, like I would love to see this Leverkusen run and like see if they can come back and win it again. Like just as, I don't know, I don't want to see Bayern win it.
Yeah, I feel that.
So I don't know. It's pretty exciting. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think you're right. I think there's definitely points on the board. And I think this is such a good time to get Bayern. And I also think Kovac is like the perfect coach to have going into this match. Like especially how we have been performing the last few, like he's not going to let up, and he's not going to be happy about this Barcelona match either. And he, as a former Bayern coach, like that just gives me a little more, I know it's a different team, but I don't know. I trust him, and I really think he's a great coach to have going into this at this time, knowing that they're injured and they're down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just hypes me up and gives me a lot of hope.
Lisu mentioned in the chat, we probably do some Dortmund shit if we somehow beat Bayern and then lose to Heidenheim, excuse me, or Wolfsburg.
Yeah,
I think you
right.
meant Hoffenheim because we play them. But yeah, I completely agree. That would be some shit that we would do.
Damn it. I don't want to know that. That's definitely what's going to happen.
I know we kind of talked about Freiburg. We talked about Bayern a little bit. I did want to just break down a few stats just while we wrap up the previewing of Bayern here. They're third in long balls, first in penalties awarded, which is 10 this season. 4 other clubs are in second for most awarded penalties, and that's 4 of those clubs have 5. So Bayern are not only in first for most penalties awarded, but well above everyone else in the competition. First in touches in opponent's box, and also their last home game against Bochum, they lost. You know, there's ways that we know that how they're going to attack. Again, very high line. Their goalkeeper, Neuer, he's going to get involved in build-up at times. They're going to go for these long balls. They're going to try to get in our, not only our third, but our box too, and try to maybe draw a foul here. But there's also opportunities for us to exploit going the other direction, right? And space in behind. We have the pace to do it. I'm curious how Kovac is going to set up tactically. Like you mentioned, a completely different team, but he does have some familiarities there, and maybe he can find some weaknesses for us to exploit. I don't think it's too crazy for us to suggest that we could get a draw, and that's what I'm hoping for here. Yeah.
Sorry, I was catching up on some of the. I got so behind on the chat, so apologies. I know you.
Yeah, we mentioned. I think we're pretty much caught up by now.
I was like, "Where's this comment?" And scrolling down, but yeah, I mean, I already said like I've hyped myself up that I think we should get a win. I think draw minimum. I mean, that's just what we need, right, to really make this run. Draw minimum. But I think we have a good chance to get the win. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't have anything else to hit on that specifically, but
chat mentioned that Neuer's injured. I forgot about that. Yeah, I didn't even register that, even though I watched some of the Inter game the other day. He's been injured for about a month now, so that's obviously a huge loss for them too, even though he's old as hell.
Carver, I was going to ask you, I texted you about it, but I was going to ask you what's happening this weekend, because we love talking about Bayern and watch parties, and there's a few I want to shout out. But I mean, we both live in St. Louis. If anyone doesn't know, is it on this weekend? Are we going to Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything officially?
It's on. Yes. Official or not, we will be there, and we're trying to have a good time. Yeah. Feel free to hop into our Discord. We have a watch party channel now, if I forgot to mention that last week, so you can coordinate with other people from around the world and see if there's anyone in your area to, meet up with. I know meeting people from the internet is also a crazy thing, so you don't have to. I was just saying that's just an opportunity for you to connect with other Dortmund fans, whether that's virtual or in person.
And I mean, there's obviously going to be, this is the biggest game, Der Klassiker. I mean, if you want to call it Der Klassiker or not, but this is the biggest game for neutral Bundesliga fans or just neutral fans in general, like most people know, this is a really big match and a really good opportunity to this is the game that all the supporters groups across the world are having a big watch party for. So I'm not going to mention them all because this is just the few I saw on Instagram, and I know there's more than this. But BVB LA, they will be in Santa Monica at Trip. Our good friends out in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Barusin, will be at Banter as always. The new supporters group in Miami will be at Fritz and Franz Beer House. BVB in DC is going to be at Across the Pond as they usually are. I know, again, here in St. Louis, we will be at Amsterdam Tavern. I know I don't remember exactly where the Kansas City group meets, but we will be sharing that info in our Discord if you want to join us there. On our socials, you can follow us at the BVB pod. I mean, but the Discord is the best place to get plugged in because you can, there's been a couple, I think there's two guys from Nashville who, I might be getting this wrong. I think it was Nashville or maybe Boston, where they didn't have a supporters group, but they were both from Nashville in our chat. And I think they got together to watch a game.
Nice.
Don't meet strangers. Make sure you do a background check first. I'm not promoting meeting strangers, but if you want to join our Discord, get connected with fellow Dortmund fans, maybe meet up with some, or find out wherever you listen to us from or wherever you watch from. And if you want to find out if there's a Dortmund supporters group near you, I know that like the BVB accounts are really good at posting this information anyways,
Yeah.
but we're more than happy to help get connected to with,
Yeah.
as we know, people kind of across the country who are putting together these watch parties. So definitely get involved, join our Discord, follow us on socials. Although if you don't like social media, I don't really like it either. It's kind of my job sometimes, but yeah, keep connected on our Discord. And no, we really appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. Carver, anything else for watch parties or anything going on this weekend that you want to
No,
hit?
I mean, I just wanted to say thanks for everyone that joined in for the live show. This has been fun. Again, we've done a few of these in the past, and we're going to do more of these in the future too. Whether you're tuning in live or not, I really appreciate you taking the time to actually engage with the show in any sort of fashion, and we really appreciate it. Make sure to leave us a review if you would like, and we hope to see you back.
Yep. See you guys later.